I'm back. This is Chandler for Melda Production, and today I'm going to show you how to create a sound that I showed in a previous video. This is kind of like an Andy Timmons style sound. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but hopefully it'll get you in the ballpark. Somebody asked me about this when I showed the delay video, so now I'll show you the whole thing and how I did it. Let's make it together. So, the basic sound is something like this. So let's make that on a new instance here. So as you can see in MGuitararchitect, you have this A-B function. So I already have it here on A. Let's move it here to B, and we'll start over. So instead of setting all these different modules, we can just use one of the templates here. I'll use the basic one. So this should be all set. We have the gate here, we have the amp, we have the cabinet, and we have reverb. Let's just turn off the reverb for now. We don't really need it. These things I'll kind of leave on, but we're gonna have to change. Actually, let's change this at the beginning. I used the guitar amp. I think, low or medium. The one I used was called Minerva. Is it in low? There it is, right there. Okay. So before we get to any tweaking or anything, let's go in here and analyze the input level. What I'm using for this is I'm using a neck position single coil. In this case, I actually don't have a single coil. I'm using coil splitting on a humbucker. So what we're going to do is just click Analyze Level, and we're going to hit our guitar really hard to set our input level here, like this. Now, this set it at 7.6, but this will depend on your guitar. And this is just so when you use different guitars, you'll get a different sound. It isn't too gained up or it isn't undergained, etc. So let's just play a chord here. Nothing too special. I apologize. I have really old strings on these guitars, so I apologize if it's not completely intonated correctly. But let's move on here. The first thing before I even get to the amp is let's go in here and add a compressor here. I believe I used Compressor Studio here, like this. You can use whichever settings here. I use the MSLE on the other one. And I'm just going to hit this. I don't want it to go all the way to the bottom here, but I do want some compression, like this. Maybe a little bit more. I think that's enough for me. Next thing I want to do is you want to use the cabinet here. Now, if you'll notice on the other one, what I used was actually this rhodinium, which is just one that I made myself. This actually isn't released. Maybe in the future this actually will be released and you'll be able to use this, but we don't have that now. I'll show you what this sounds like here. This is my own custom-made personal one. This, set it here, so it should sound like this. I might turn that compressor down just a little bit. There we go. So that's what it sounds like, but since you don't have that, let's try a different one. And you see inside here in the cabinet, we also have A-B, just like outside. So what I'm going to do is switch this to B, and I think the one I used before that can sound somewhat similar is maybe Iridium? Ooh, clicking the wrong thing. So this one's much brighter. Let's just move this away from the cone, increase the distance. It's still a bit too bright, but what I think we can do to kind of stop this is we'll set this from normal to the full setting. Now, of course, I think this is good as it is. Of course, you could tweak it more, but I think that's close enough for this. You can try other ones and get the same thing. Basically, what I want is lots of like low mids, and I don't want a really pronounced top end for this type of sound. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go to the amp here. Let's look to see what I did on the other one. Have the gain all the way up here, maybe around 5, 6, 7, 8. 7 and 8. Have the bass down at a little bit under 5. I don't know if the middle is 5 or 6, but a little bit under the middle. Treble and presence where they are. So let's move that up here. Bass down a bit, treble down a bit. I believe this amp is a bit bassy anyways. So let's hear this. I should probably check my metering too, just because I don't want this to get too loud. Now, usually what I like to do with the gain is I want this to be gainy enough that when I hit it really hard, you're hearing distortion. If I think that's not enough, I can increase the power amp somewhat. Sometimes that sounds a little bit harsher to me, so I'll leave it where it is, or maybe even bring it down, and I might turn up this gain. And it's the same thing, I can adjust my volume control and hopefully it'll get clean, so. Or. So that's what I want. I might move it down even a little bit lower, just because I don't want too much grit on this. We're going to use a pedal to get more of like the lead sound we want later. So I think, okay, my amp is good for the most part. My cabinet is good for the most part. Have the compressor on there. The other thing I showed last time is I need some delay. Now, what I want to use for this is actually the module, not the delay in here. So I use G modular here. I'm going to use the presets since I already showed you that last time. It's not video presets. I forgot where did I put it. FX chains in here. Delay. And I have the halo delay. I'm going to use the milliseconds this time. So let's do this. Let's pop this out because this is making everything huge. Go. If we look inside here, I showed you how to set this up last time. We have our wet dry. Don't want that. We want to move this down, maybe 29. Way too much feedback, so let's bring that down a bit. Let's bring down our low pass filter too, like this. And now let's add just a little bit of depth here. This is our modulation. Sounding a little bit like chorusing, so I want to bring it down just a bit. I don't want too much of that. And another thing I might want is let's add just a little bit of stereo. So here it is with it off. And just a little bit on. Now, I think this is sounding pretty good, so I'll leave this where it is. Of course, you can adjust that more to your own personal likes or dislikes as well, but I think that's good. Let's put on a little bit of reverb here. I don't want too much spring, so I'll click this on here. I can have the ducking, but I don't really need that there. I'm just going to move this down. If I have it all the way up, it sounds like this. Don't need that. Let's move it down, maybe a little bit over 10%. 14. I think it gives it a nice little halo effect there. And if you're happy with that, there you go. This is a great clean sound, but you're probably thinking, hey, I want some distortion too. The other one I showed has a drive there. All I'm going to do is add this snack overdrive, set it to the GUI setting, and move the treble down. So go into here. It's in amp, which you're probably like, hey, why is it in there? I'm going to move it to pedal. Choose snack overdrive here. Move this down. Move the treble down. Make sure it's on the GUI setting. And one thing I like to do personally, just so I'm like, why is there 2 amps? I might get confused if I look at this later. I just right click it, click rename, and I might change it to OD or drive or whatever you want. Click OK, yes, close it, and now you see this says OD, so that way in the future, in a quick glance, I can find which one is my amp and which one is my overdrive. So let's hear it. So I think this is a pretty good drive sound. Of course, you can adjust it to suit your own guitar, etc. But this will give you that drive sound. Fairly thick, and then I can take it off here. Like that. But if you're thinking like, I want to switch between them, and maybe you're like me and you don't really like having all this chorus on this sound. So if I have, let's say I'll turn this up just to hear it. I know sometimes this can sound like chorusing if you have lots of modulation on your delays. And maybe for your clean sound, you think that's good, but I don't want that for my distortion sound. So I'll show you how you can quickly just switch things up, and that way you can hit one button and change everything in one. So I can turn my OD and distortion on and switch my delays and everything on. Or not on and off, but get rid of the modulation. So I'll just click here, quick learn, I go over to my OD, click this. Okay, so this is on and off. All I want to do is just set this to a switch here, like that, a button. And when it's on, it should be 0. There. When it's on, I have distortion. When it's off, I have that. So I can just put this like drive sound. But this is only doing the drive, the snack overdrive. What I want to do is also adjust this modulation amount here. So what I can do is just use learn here. Make sure you don't use clear and learn because I don't want to clear it. And just move this like that. So now I have the drive in here, and I have 0 and 24. But if I do that, you see like, when it's off, it's at 0. So I need to invert this. Invert like this. So now when it's on, you see the depth is 0. When it's off, I'm getting some chorusing sound. So that way I'm not getting that chorusing on my lead sound. So that's how you can do this and easily hit drive to switch my overdrive on and my modulation on. I'm getting tongue-tied. That means this video is probably long enough. You can use this trick for other things, so if you have other modulation effects on something else, you can do this just as easily. It's an easy and fast way to switch between things. But hopefully this gave you a good idea of how I made the sound. If you want to, let me know, and down below if you like this, and I'll just upload this so you can do it yourself, or actually you don't have to do it yourself. I did it for you. Be sure to play around with this. I'm sure some of you can get closer to Andy Timmons' sound than I can, but I think this is a good starting place. So, if you like this, give me a thumbs up, leave me any questions or comments down below, and be sure to check out all the other plugins at meldaproduction.com. Till next time, see you.